Welcome back to War Room. We're really pressed for time today, folks. We got so much going on. We're going to get to Pennsylvania and the cowardice of certain officials up there. We're going to be naming names. We're going to flip now, go back to Arizona. We got the one and only Ben Bergquam, who's done such an amazing job at Real America's Voice of reporting this story from the very first second that the steal went on in Arizona. Ben joins us from, I think it's the Hyatt, where this special meeting of Republican senators is going to go on today. By Senator Fincham, called by him, but others are there. Members of Congress are there. Rudy Giuliani, Jenna Ellis, and a team of experts, both statisticians, data analysts, and eyewitnesses. This is going to be Gettysburg on steroids. Ben Bergquam of Real America's Voice. Can you put us in the room? What's going on there?
Yeah, thanks, Steve. We are here. The panel is, the hearing is about to begin. Right behind me, you've got where the panel is going to be sitting, Mayor Giuliani. Those that are testifying are going to be sitting in the seat directly behind me. This line of chairs is going to be the state representatives that will be hearing it. And the reason why we're here at the Hyatt Regency, as you mentioned, this has to be called, there has to be a formal session called or hearing called by the House of Representatives, the Speaker of the House, and the Secretary of State. That's Mr. Bowers and Karen Pham. And as of right now, that's Rusty Bowers and Karen Pham. And as of right now, they have not called that. The room is full. They ran out of tickets, but as you can see, state of Arizona and the city of Phoenix is requiring the 6-foot separation of people. So that limited the space in here, but there are thousands of people outside the building right now rallying in support of President Trump and rallying against the fraud.
Ben, you've been on this from the beginning. Where today we understand the smartest guys in the room are going to be there, the statisticians, the data analysts, that walk through how this mathematically couldn't have happened. But in Arizona, you're down to 10,000 votes. And I know there's been discussion about Pima County. There's discussion about the machines in Maricopa County. There's issues with, I think, the tribal areas. Normally, and everybody should know, the tribal areas are the Broward County and Palm Beach County of Arizona, and they're proud of that. But I think this is a little outside the norms, what are people saying? So where do you think the witnesses, where's the direction of the evidence going to come from today?
Well, a lot of it will be, as you mentioned, the statisticians talking about the possibility, the probability of the votes that came in. A lot of that, if you look at the numbers, what we saw in Pennsylvania, statistically impossible, the numbers that we saw coming in, 6 million votes, only 3,000 of those for President Trump. Similar numbers happened here in Arizona, so we're expecting to hear testimony regarding that, the improbability of the numbers that we saw come in here, but also things, they've done a really good job at comparing double voting. So folks that have moved states, that were registered in multiple states, that voted in both states, or did vote shopping where they were, maybe they lived in Arizona, but they moved to California, but they thought their vote would be more impactful in Arizona, so they voted in Arizona. A lot of that, as far as I understand, occurred as well. So we're going to be hearing that, the number of double voting, and then the number of people that voted without their knowledge, the number of ballots that were sent to folks. The percentages of ballots that were sent out versus the percentage that were sent back, similar to what we saw in Pennsylvania as well. In that case, there were 1.8 million ballots sent out, 2.5 million returned. Obviously, that's a major issue, and we're expecting to hear similar statistics like that here in Arizona. Maybe not on the same level, though.
There are no conspiracies, but there are also no coincidences. Over the weekend, it was leaked that Joe Biden is going to offer Sidney McCain the ambassadorship to the Court of St. James. That would be the United Kingdom, the most prestigious and considered the senior of all ambassadors, an incredibly prestigious role. Is that basically a payoff to the Republican establishment out there for a job of not getting it back, of at least looking at how this was stolen? It's people are stunned why Ducey has not called a special session. It's great that we're out there having this today, because we know from Gettysburg, every time this comes forward, people get galvanized when they start to see the evidence, and it puts back the lie that there's no evidence here. But what is the Republican establishment? Are they actively working against the Trump movement and President Trump, to at least have it in the American people, in the people of Arizona, just to have a free and fair count of exactly what went on?
That is what we're hearing. In fact, what I've been told, I haven't confirmed this, but Rusty Bowers and Karen Pham are both personal friends of the McCains, and particularly Cindy McCain is what I've heard, and that there's possible pressure coming from her to not call that special session. Same with Doug Ducey. He's got some scandals as well that they're threatening to bring out against him. So it seems like he's been quiet. That appears to be happening all over the country. There is political pressure being put on by the establishment Republicans who, this is why people voted for President Trump. They were sick of these games that were played every 2 and 4 years by Republicans who claim to be on their side. But when the rubber hits the road, when it's time to go to the mat, they always waffled and succumb to the pressure. And that is, it sounds like that those games are being played again. And that's why it's so important that the people that believe that this is occurring stand up and call these people out and hold them accountable. And that's what we're hearing. The people outside are saying anybody who does not support President Trump, does not expose this fraud, is going to be either primaried or is going to be voted out of office in the next election. And that is the thing that will scare these folks. When it comes to getting political creatures motivated, the best thing to do is to make them afraid of losing their job, their political influence.
How big is the Brian Kennedy was actually outside but he did it by phone. How big is the crowd right now, and do you anticipate that will grow during the day?
Yeah, when I was out there, the entire street was blocked off. It was full of people. I hear they're expecting at least a couple thousand people out there. I'll be going in and outside throughout the day, interviewing folks, and so we'll give you guys an update throughout the day on Real America's Voice.
Ben Bergquam from the room out in Phoenix, Arizona, where this is going to take place today. Thank you very much, Ben. Look forward to having you on the show this afternoon and get a summary.
Thank you, Steve.
So now that we heard that, we got positive news there. I want you guys to jump in, but we got to go to Pennsylvania. And I think you're seeing a consistent theme here this morning. The Republican establishment's defending smart tech and Dominion systems. And hey, we're not saying on the show that Dominion systems totally flipped every vote here. We're saying that it absolutely needs to be reviewed and analyzed. Every machine's got to be frozen in place. Every flow of information has to be stopped immediately, and this thing's got to be reviewed. But the Republican establishment's fighting to protect their proprietary software. We're going to get to Pennsylvania in a second, which is nothing but a profile in cowardice, right? Given what's said, and then you've got Arizona, where you're having a great hearing today. But right now, there's no special session. And you're hearing that, all the guys that run the state are buddies with the McCains, and she's just been offered. That is 30 pieces of silver. Okay, that's 30. Remember, there are no coincidences. That does not get dropped as an exclusive. What is in the Daily Mail with a huge story about her, and they're a British paper, and this thing is so fantastic. And she's
I hate to bring up the past, but remember, Sidney McCain had a little bit of a problem stealing drugs from her drug therapy back in the early '90s.
Wow, Jack
this
Maxey,
felonious behavior.
Jack Maxey went there.
Granted, she said that she had a drug problem, but she lied throughout, both to federal investigators and others, and because she's Cindy McCain, she got to take a little slide. But I certainly don't think somebody with that background should be able to be ambassador to the court of St. James. Sorry, Cindy, I don't think you're qualified. And if any of the senators are out there listening, because you're going to have to confirm her, I'll be happy to send you all the documents that show you why that woman should never be trusted with any of our intelligence any more than the Biden family.
You know what's really galling about this? If you were actually a Bannon friend of John McCain, go through the hard drive from hell and look at the way that the Biden team and the people who are now leading the transition, how they talked about John McCain. They called him an a-hole. They called him a grumpy old man and whatever. So however you feel about John McCain, for her to turn around and take this payoff from Camp Biden after all of this, it's the bottom of the barrel,
It's a big deal, though, when you offer somebody the ambassadorship to
think of all the parties.
Just not that you're playing. If you're into that kind of thing, you're playing at the highest level, right? It was when I saw it dropped on Saturday. I said, "Oh my gosh, we got the hearing on Monday. That they don't want the establishment. They want the establishment to lock down hard on this thing. Well, that's how they're going to do it."
One of our southern listeners made a statement that I think is very, very true. She says, "Please continue to reiterate that the legacy of the Georgia politicians will be that they endorsed a fraud. As a Southerner, legacy is everything. Their whole lives will be shadowed by this voter betrayal, and they need to hear it every day."
Amen. That's what I'm saying. But from a practical point of view, for the Republican establishment, I'm telling you, I'm from the South. Now, I'm not from the deep South, but I'm from the South. 15, and we've got John Fredericks. I want to try to get John Fredericks if we can get him, and we've got the other bus tour that's going up to Georgia. John Fredericks is doing a 10 city and 10-day bus tour to rural Georgia to see the Trump voter about how enthusiastic. He planned this 2 weeks ago. 15 to 20% of the Trump voters, if you do not go all in and defend not just Trump, but this steal of the election and the American people, if they feel that the senior leaders of the Republican Party and the Trump movement and whatever didn't put it all on the table to try to make sure that this came out, they're not coming out. God in heaven couldn't get them to come out. 15 to 20% are not going to come out, and therefore Stacey Abrams is going to get 2 U.S. senators elected. I'm just trying to be practical. I'm not sitting there saying don't get involved in the 5th, but you have business that must be attended to now. If you want to get the outpouring in the Trump vote, if you don't have a recreation of 18, if you want the Trump vote to show up, you must right now go all in, because this is what we're going to have.
Absolutely.
This is not John Fredericks going around. We've got Amy Kramer and her daughter are doing the bus tour up. They're going to hit a bunch of states here to take the bus tour that we're one of the co-sponsors of. And I want to get them, and I want to get John Fredericks and see they're down there at the grassroots as grassroots things. And the grassroots people, look, they're outside in the hot sun in Phoenix right now. These people are outraged, and this is going to have consequences.
Well, the other thing is, when you consider Georgia, there is no way that they can have an election on the 5th using the same processes that they did on the 3rd of November, where everything was upside down and disarrayed and everybody has questions. I would say you got to get a judge down in Georgia to delay that election until all the rest of this is resolved. I don't care if it takes till next June.
What makes me sick to my stomach now that you say it is the thought of what a Cindy McCain, Hunter Biden, and Prince Andrew party at the palace would look like.
Is Prince? He's verboten around there, isn't he?
I mean, look, you could totally see it all coming back.
Listen, if you really want to go all the way, I could see Andy hooking up with her. They could be a power couple in London. They're both after the same thing: money and invitations.
God, Jack went there. Jack Maxey. They say Bannon's the jerk. It's Jack Maxey gets personal. It gets nasty personal, right? That's how I get with the crew afterwards. Yeah, just get very personal. Okay, we're gonna take a break. We're going to come back, and we got to talk about Pennsylvania. Look, we didn't say this was going to be easy. We said I think we said from the beginning, very tough but doable. Very tough but doable. You have a narrow gate here, and you can do it. You've got the votes. You've got the evidence. We have the venues. All you need is the political will. Now, you're seeing the will of the MAGA movement, right? You're not seeing the will of the establishment, and for different reasons. In Pennsylvania, they're afraid to lose. They got control up there. They're afraid they're going to lose it, right? There's going to be blowback from the voters. In Georgia, it may be something different. In Arizona, the establishment out there, the McCain establishment, hates Donald Trump. It's one of the centerpieces of the Never Trump movement. In Wisconsin, I think you're seeing people, solid citizens, the Iron Brigade are standing up, and the news out there is great. We're going to get to some of the good news in Wisconsin, but we're going to have to deal with the unpleasantness of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Remember, where Independence Hall is, where Valley Forge is, where Gettysburg is. A day of infamy in Pennsylvania. We return next.
War Room Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
I'm a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
And that's why we're here, to listen to evidence and testimony and answer that question wherever it leads. We need to restore confidence in our election system, and I look forward to being a participant on behalf of District 15 and all of Arizona to get this information out, hear the evidence, and make sure that we have elections that the people can be confident in for the future. Otherwise, they will not vote in the future. That would be a disaster. But that's That's where we are today. We have to hear the truth, hear the evidence, hear the testimony, and get to the bottom of the truth. Thank you very much.
You are listening to the hearing in Arizona, Rudy Giuliani, Jenna Ellis. Go back live.
Which includes the Lottie County, La Paz County, everywhere from Lake Havasu City, Kingman, Bullhead, Parker, and I think all of us can share the same story that we've been receiving thousands of emails a day from constituents, and they want answers, and rightfully so. And this is our job now, is to provide them with whatever evidence that's being presented here today, and allowing the people to decide for themselves if they feel our elections were secure and if there was any kind of fraud at all. That's our job as representatives, to give those answers.
You were listening to the record.
The state of Arizona and District 5, and I look forward to the mayor and the legal team to present what you guys have today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm Sylvia Allen. I represent District 6, which is the rural heart of Arizona, the most beautiful part of the state.
Guys, and I've been so honored to be able to.
Having some slight audio problems in Arizona, so we try to get that.
South rim of the Grand Canyon. So I'm here representing 4 counties. And I have also received hundreds and hundreds of emails from citizens not only in my district, but all across the state, saying, please, Senator Allen, please listen to what is out there, the testimony that's out there, the different evidence that's being gathered. Please be sure that my vote counted. Please be sure that our elections are safe. And also, as I read the U.S. Constitution, and 10 times I've taken an oath as a political leader to uphold the Constitution of the United States and also our state constitution. What does that really mean? The legislature is the people's house. This is the people's part of government. And it's important that we protect our right to vote. And the legislature, under the Constitution, we're responsible to be sure that our electors that we send from the state to the Electoral College, that we have sent it when we've had an election that has been fair and correct and legal. So I'm very pleased to be here today, and thank you to everyone that's worked so hard to put this together. And I am hoping that what we learned today, we'll pay attention, you guys, and that we will go forward and we'll be sure that we can correct the problems that have taken place. Thank you.
I'm Senator David Gowan. I'm from Legislative District 14, rural Arizona. I mean, we're actually the heart of rural Arizona.
No.
Right. Sorry, Sylvia. Actually, so I represent Cochise counties.
Okay, these are the representatives that
Graham,
gave their opening
Greenlee,
statements.
and
This
East
is
Pima,
going to be
actually,
a
so.
incredibly
I got a little bit
important,
of Pima in there.
incredibly important hearing today. There's going to be, I think, some shockers that are going to be put out there. We're going to come back to it as soon as Rudy gives his opening statement. But I think it tells you that room, they could have packed it 5 times over. I mean, the demand on this. For the audience, I want you to take away, the buried lead in that one of those opening things was the representative said, my phone's lit up all the time.
Tens of thousands
Tens
of
of
emails.
thousands.
That's you people. That's the power of this audience. Do not stop. Force people to take a stand if necessary. We can't tell you how much we thank you and how important it is to be on your team.
Yeah, no, this is, and by the way, in Pennsylvania, nonstop calling from this audience, nonstop emailing. And here's what we heard from a number of audience members, that particularly Cutler, the Speaker of the House, nobody answered the phones after a while. They just put it right to voicemail. This is the gutlessness you're seeing up there of the leader of the House and the leader of the Senate in Pennsylvania. And people should understand, if that's how you want to be governed and rolling over when something's so important, this is bigger than Pennsylvania. It's bigger than Donald Trump. It's bigger than the Trump movement. This is about this republic. And it's ironic that in Pennsylvania, where Benjamin Franklin gave that warning around the signing of the Declaration of Independence when the woman said, we finally have a republic, and his warning to her, a republic if you can keep it. And it's ironic that in the home of Valley Forge and Gettysburg, which are two times that Americans had to step up under horrific circumstances to make sure that we did bequeath the republic down to future generations. This is just absolute moral cowardice. And let's be very specific. We had on here Sean Parnell, a combat veteran, awarded the Bronze Star for Valor, right? The longest combat tour of his book, Outlaw Platoon, shows, I think, 460 days or something, the longest combat tour ever in eastern Afghanistan with his platoon. And, what he was saying, he said right there that this is nothing but cowardice of these guys. He's put it forward, and his lawsuit went to the Supreme Court. Talk about the middle of the night. The Supreme Court ruled. We had the show on Friday at 5 to 7 o'clock. It came out on Friday night, was it, Greg? Friday night, 11 o'clock. It was Saturday. Saturday
It was
night.
the Commonwealth Court on Friday.
Was it the Supreme Court was on Friday? Yes, it was on Friday.
Commonwealth Court was Friday.
But the state Supreme Court would not review it. That was Saturday, right?
Saturday, yep.
Saturday, late at night, the Supreme Court unanimously, and that's 5-2. It's got two Republicans unanimously wouldn't see it, wouldn't review it, didn't talk about the merits because, as Sean Parnell said, on the merits they're going to lose flat out. Right? They would have to reverse 125 years of Commonwealth of Pennsylvania law. They would not review it. Why'd they say it? Oh, you should have done this back in 2019 when this law was passed. And we know the fix was in because the Act 77. The career politicians got to think about down ballot voting. They made a trade-off against their Constitution. This is unconstitutional. It's got to go to a referendum of the people. This is what you're governed by. You're not governed by the Sean Parnells. You're governed by the gutless guy, Cutler. Anybody that would not have your staff answer it. So at least you give the common courtesy and decency to people who are outraged. And I realize some of those young people might have to sit there and take some incoming, but hey, they're young. They'll get over it, right? Ask Fish, right? They're going to take it's from some hot constituents, but just to 10 rings and have it go to voicemail, that's not acceptable. So what's happening in Pennsylvania, even as we speak, Mr. Greg Manns?
So today is the last session day in the state legislature in Pennsylvania, which is significant because on Friday, in addition to that Commonwealth Court ruling and then the Supreme Court one on Saturday, there were 26 state house lawmakers dropped a resolution calling for the results not to be certified. Now, notably, Brian Cutler was not part of that resolution. It was all rank and file members, nobody in leadership as well.
Nobody in leadership signed it, nobody in leadership pushed it?
So the thing that we are dealing with in Pennsylvania is the mechanical issue of today being the last day of session. The resolution, which was non-binding, takes 3 legislative days to actually get some traction and be a platform on which they can take this message to the state and to the rest of the nation about how the results in Pennsylvania were completely out of the norm and wrong and ripe with fraud. Now, a concurring resolution would take 5 days, legislative days, which would have to be the House and the Senate. Now, there's really no appetite in the Senate, so to get anything bound by law, in addition to having a special session called for, which then the governor would have to sign off on, you're really in a tricky situation with the legislative leaders not being there.
But this is all process. This all could have been sorted out over Thanksgiving if they had gotten on. If this thing was important enough, if they wanted, if it was some tax cut, right? It was some tax cut for their wealthy donors. Trust me, they would have worked. They would have said, "Honey, put the turkey in the fridge. I'll get back to it on Monday after we sign this. After we do our grift, right? It was dealing with grift. Cutler and is it Corman. And that crowd? These guys are disgusting. I want to get their pictures up here at the bottom. We're going to make these guys famous, and I want the phone calls and the emails to continue because these are two gutless individuals. That the reason we're going to lose unless we go to court. I know they're going to court, and there's avenues in the court. But the state legislature should step up here and show what they're made of.
The lack of expediency during this is really shameful. And I come from being somebody that was the communications director for the Pennsylvania Republican Party, served as President Trump's spokesperson in Pennsylvania during the 2016 campaign, and having all these worlds collide and seeing where people are falling now when things are getting tough, it's really, really disheartening.
The people told me before, there's two parties in Pennsylvania. Hey, guess what? There's two parties in every state, in Georgia and Arizona. The party C in Arizona is in that conference room. As soon as there's testimony, we're going to go back to Rudy and these guys. We're also going to get the Kramers on from the bus tour. We're sponsoring the bus tours that go to all the battleground states now and to rally Trump people. Also, we're trying. John Fredericks is on a bus. We're going to come back and talk more about Pennsylvania in a second. I want to get the pictures of these guys up here and get their phone numbers. We should inundate these people, and they should not be. Those two personally should not be voted back into office. If they were the ones in back of this, of shutting this down, and I don't want to hear. Everybody's got a bureaucratic process. Oh, it's too hard. We had 9 days here and 3 days there. Hey. If it was a tax cut for their donors, they would have moved heaven and earth to do that, right? But to actually do a fair count of the MAGA vote, we'll get back to you. Let's deal with it next time. We'll be back in a moment.
War Room Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Limited to, but as you hear the testimony, I think you'll figure it out, just like the people in Pennsylvania and later in the weekend. It centers around the mail-in ballots and the absentee ballots. We've been warned for 20 years that going to major mail-in ballots as a way of doing our elections will be fraught with tremendous fraud. They're very dangerous. It's almost impossible for even semi-crooked politicians to resist the temptation to use it for ballot stuffing. We were warned by President Jimmy Carter. We were warned by former Secretary of State Jim Baker in a report, very, very consequential report. They said we should never do it. And if we do it, it should be extremely limited to the real absentee situations like we have done in the past. We were warned by Justice Souter in the Supreme Court, warned by many, many experts, Republican and Democrat. Democrats used to be against mail-in ballots, like they were against everything else until President Trump was for it, which gives you a sense they're not thinking about the country. They're thinking about competitive advantage, getting their power back, serving their greed and for power and money. So when they saw the mail-in ballot situation, they said, wow, we could change an election in the past, like they did in Chicago in 1960 with Governor Mayor Daley, like they did in Florida or tried to do just last year in Florida by turning the votes in Broward and Palm Beach County, holding them back for 2 weeks, and seeing if they could get enough absentee ballots made up. They couldn't get there. They couldn't get there because there were only like 300,000 or 400,000 absentee ballots. You can't expand it to 1 million. But when you have 2.5 million mail-in ballots, you can expand it to 3 million or 3.2 million. Or you can count it 4 or 5 times in the machine. There's plenty of room for cheating, which is why they slowed it down. So you're in it with other states. It's not just Arizona that has been conned, the people of Arizona taken advantage of, and their right to vote taken away from them. It's the people of Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Nevada, Georgia, and Arizona that we know of. And if your right to vote has been taken away, so is mine. We have an illegitimate election. We have demonstrably wrong numbers in those states. In your state, a lot of the fraud had to do with the mail-in system, as it did in other places. Your state's a little bit different than Michigan and Pennsylvania. Your state, it wasn't full and complete shutout of all Republicans in seeing mail-in ballots and ballots that were in dispute. But it was significant. A significant number of these witnesses were shut out when the important determination was being made, is this ballot valid or isn't it? When you make that determination, as a matter of law in almost every state in the country, and just as a matter of due process and fairness, we'd all agree both parties should get to see it. That's the last time you get to check the validity of the ballot. That's why mail-in ballots are different. We can go back to the machines and we can study the machines. Maybe we can pick up the fraud and the evidence of it, because there's traces left in it. But once the envelope is separated from the ballot, gone forever, you will never know how to connect the fraud, which is why President Carter and Jimmy Baker said it's a field day for fraud. The way you accomplish the fraud is you don't have an independent party or a Republican. If you're going to cheat the Republicans, you don't have him in the room so he can object to it and point it out. Look, this is the same handwriting on 12 ballots. Oh, they didn't fill out the envelope. They just filled out the ballot. Or this seems like it was done by a machine. Those are the things you can object to. So in probably at least 100,000 situations in Maricopa County alone, and Pima, you did not have the opportunity to do that. Those votes should be declared null and void. You also, however, had your own variations, as the other states did. So the key fraud is the mail-in ballot. That was the backup in case they fell too far behind. That's why they cut off the vote at midnight, 1 o'clock, when President Trump was getting too far ahead, particularly in Pennsylvania, in Michigan, in Wisconsin, and also in
you were watching and listening to testimony
Pennsylvania.
at the beginning.
So they cut off the vote
in Arizona. At the
he was getting up to 800,000 in Pennsylvania,
lawyer.
300,000 in Michigan. He was even further ahead in Wisconsin. They cut off the vote. They turned things off. They chased everybody out, and then it's not your concern, except for the fact that you got to look at this somewhat in total. They started bringing in false ballots. We have 3 witnesses to 100,000 of those ballots being brought in at 4:30 in the morning in Detroit with no Republicans around that they knew of. Luckily, we had 2 that stayed behind and a Dominion employee who was willing to be honest. Not all of them are honest. So the point of that is you're part of this fraud. You also had numerous situations of your workers, your citizens, observing the poll officials helping people vote to the point of telling them who to vote for. Clear fraud. You have situations of poll workers being observed changing votes, taking ambiguous votes and making sure they were cast for Biden. And you have situations of stuffing the ballot box. And we will try to quantify those. Those are harder to quantify. But the ones involving the exclusion of observers are quantifiable, and that's 100,000. So let me spend just 1 minute, and then we'll get our witnesses out, on Dominion. Dominion is a foreign company. It's a Canadian company. It has an office in America, but it's a foreign company. Question number 1. I have to believe the people of Arizona had no idea a foreign company was counting their vote. I guarantee you they didn't, because the people in New York did. I did. I find that outrageous. We can't get an American company that we have complete jurisdiction over to count our votes. Now, did we pick this company here in Arizona without any due diligence? It's not just a foreign company. It's a foreign company that's been in a lot of trouble. In Texas, it was excluded after 2 years of study for being exceedingly incompetent. It screwed up elections in the past. It's well known for having the most porous system of all the companies, meaning it's the easiest one to penetrate. They do little or nothing to protect against hacking. They even explain to some extent in their manual how to get into them, how to manipulate them. And then they have a history going back to the Smartmatic company that actually was formed for the purpose of fixing elections. I don't know who makes the choice in your state of who should be counting your votes, but I know that person either is exceedingly naive or much worse. If this wasn't known to the person making the choice, then you got to change the whole system. Finally, you don't have to wait to change your system. We don't have to endure a phony election. And the biggest voter fraud in our history and end up with a tainted election and go down in history as a country that didn't have the courage to deal with it, go down as the first group of Americans that didn't have the courage to stand up when their freedoms were being taken away. We'd be the first. When I see some of these leaders cower at the idea of doing what the Constitution gives them the power to do, I become very discouraged about, can we really stand up to this invasion on our, what's been really an invasion on our freedom of religion, our freedom of speech, and now our right to a fair and honest count? That's all we want. I mean, the one thing you will come away with here is the vote as it presently exists is false. It's fraudulent. If they certify it, they are certifying a false statement to the United States of America. Gosh, when I was a prosecutor, that was a federal crime. False statement to the United States in probably the most important matter we have, the selection of our commander-in-chief. I mean, I can tell you where the false statements and where the numbers end up, but that doesn't even matter. It is clear that the numbers are false. It's clear that you have included ballots that weren't properly inspected. It's clear that you're including ballots that were voted by other people. It's clear that you're using machines that have been shown to be totally manipulated in other places, and you won't give us the opportunity to examine those machines. I think anybody who puts their name on that is getting very close to committing a crime. And I think anyone who stands by and lets it happen, maybe they're not committing a crime, but they've lost the sense of what it means that we have to fight to protect our values and our rights. Because there are always people, both externally and internally, who want to take them away.
It's the only thing I think I disagree with Mayor Giuliani. It's absolutely a crime, and if you stand by and look at it, you're an accessory to that crime. These are crimes. They can be prosecuted as crimes. They're trying to steal. They're trying to thwart the will of the American people. A beautiful opening by Mayor Giuliani. There's going to be now witnesses. There's going to be, I think they'll walk through the math, which we want to hear. Real America's Voice has got Ben Bergquam there. GTV has got a team there. They're picking up the stream. Real America's Voice is picking up the stream. My strongest recommendation to our audience today is if you missed Gettysburg and you missed the commission meeting in Wisconsin, if you want to see democracy at work, tune in. It'll be the best use of your time on what's a rainy afternoon in the back east to see what's going on in the desert out in Arizona where Americans are standing up for their rights. And this is what's most impressive. This has all come about because of you. This is why you're such a powerful and important audience and why they fear you. It is your calls, your emails, your pressure, your relentless pressure that has actually gotten this, that empowered those delegates that are up there risking leadership being angry at them. Same thing in Pennsylvania. It was Don Kiefer and Colonel Mastriano, right, and Sergeant Rothman, the delegate. They were all prepared to come forward. Everybody that came to that and had that hearing in Gettysburg, all of those were because you had their back, and they know you have their back, because this is the Ben Bergquam got it 3 weeks ago, I think it was, with a deplorable, I think she was of Hispanic descent, interview outside the Maricopa County voting center, elections headquarters, and he interviewed her. She's sitting there all maggot up, right, get the red hat on and all that, and she said, "This is beyond Trump. I'm not out here for Trump. I'm out here for the country." Yes, President Trump won re-election. He won a massive landslide in Arizona, and that's obvious, right? But it's not the fact that I'm here just as a Trump supporter. I'm here as an American.
Well, the other thing is that we have to look at, this is almost like a trial, right? And the opposite side does not want to share all the evidence in this trial. They want to convict somebody in this election without allowing that person to present all the evidence in his defense.
Look, here's the thing. The reason Biden's numbers are soft and they're going to get softer and he's getting chopped up, you can't give happy talk in a car dealership in Wilmington, right, to bring the country together. There's only one way to bring this country together right now. Get everything on the table and let's have a fair account of legal votes. If that happens and Joe Biden wins, hey, will we be disappointed? We'd be angry, but we'll be the loyal opposition. But if that doesn't happen, it's going to be something else, okay? And so right now you see where this is headed. We know it's headed for a Trump victory. Now, we've got some choppy water to go through, and the establishment's got to help pull together here. Okay, short break. We're going to return with War Room Pandemic with the posse. Hopefully some guys on the road we can track down next.
War Room Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Rudy, brother, these are crimes, and people who look the other way are accessories to the crimes. I want to go now to Georgia on the 10 Cities in 10 Days bus tour. It's John Fredericks. John, we've read what the government officials on the public payroll defending the copyright and intellectual property of smart tech and Dominion systems in this effort to not have to seize the machines or make sure nothing is wiped out. You're taking a bus tour. You just started today. What is the attitude of the hardworking folks of Georgia about this entire mess down there?
Outrage. And the day of reckoning is coming. We had Linwood on our show today for nearly an hour, Steve. The day of reckoning is coming. He's telling me that they've got overwhelming evidence that is going to get eventually to SCOTUS. And he said the election in Georgia is going to get overturned. And he said when that happens, the whole thing is going to fall like a house of cards because it's going to be one after the other. So there's absolute outrage that the people's money of Georgia is spent on the administration defending the proprietary software concerns of a company that has been allegedly accused of manipulating votes, and they're worried about somebody stealing their software. And so the state of Georgia took the case on defending the Dominion voting company, which is, by the way, represented, their spokesperson is Michael Steele, ultimate never Trumper. You'll remember who he is.
The worst.
Former chairman RNC.
The worst. No. That's not. He's not the chairman. No, it's the other Michael Steele. He's spokesman for Bannon. Even worse than the former chairman. This guy is the ultimate swamp creeper.
Worse than that guy.
Worse than that guy.
So the bottom line is here, it's outrageous that the people's money and the people's time in Georgia is spent defending a software company that has been accused of manipulating the votes in Georgia. The second thing that is outraging people, Steve, and there's a lot of it today in Georgia as I'm on my first day of my 10-city tour, is the fact that Raffensperger, the Secretary of State, the Republican, absolutely refuses to verify the mail-in ballots from the envelopes. Refuses to do it. Only the governor can make him do it. He suggested it. What are they hiding? Verify the signatures. Verify the machines. They wanted to wipe the entire Georgia Dominion software clean, wipe it clean like Hillary did with her servers and her cell phones, wipe it clean, get rid of all the evidence, and Linwood had to step in, and the Judge Bannon first ruled for an injunction in his favor, then he said they didn't have jurisdiction, then Linwood and Sidney Powell came back, and at 10:10 p.m. last night, the judge gave them injunction relief. So the software of the Dominion machines cannot be wiped until there's an emergency hearing on Wednesday. And they've got 3 counties, Gwinnett, Cherokee, and Cobb, that they want all of the machines, Cobb County, they want a forensic study to be sure that there was no shenanigans going on. Now, if you're Brad Raffensperger, why are you fighting this? You would say, hey, have at it, because I don't believe there was anything the matter. Yet they fight it at every step. They fight the signature verification. What are they trying to hide? I mean, this is what Georgians are asking. And then here's the thing these Republicans don't get it. They're all concerned about these 2 Senate races, Kelly Loeffler and Perdue. They don't realize Trump voters are not going to come out and vote for them on January 5th if they don't see the Republican Party fighting.
We're trying to save Mitch McConnell's Senate. We're trying to save the Republican Party. They don't get it. If they do not go all in and fight this,
they don't get it.
They 20% of the hardcore Trump guys, they're not going to listen to John Frederick or Steve. They're not going to listen to Donald Trump. Donald Trump can go down and say, "Come out." They say, "Hey, it's been there, done that. Did it on November 3rd, brother. Didn't work out so well. Not going to do it. They're ornery, okay? They've been misled, and nobody stood up and fought for them. So this is what you don't get. We're not 15 or 20% of this vote is not going to show up. Raheem, real quickly, can you pull up and read what the judge ordered them not to do?
Yeah, give me a second on
Okay,
that.
hang on. I want to know these gutless cowards in Pennsylvania. Give me an update, Greg. So hang with me, John.
So we've got Brian Cutler and Jake Corman are the two legislative leaders most crucial right now to this battle.
Cutler's the head of the House. Corman's the head of the Senate.
The head of the Senate.
Don't they have who's the guy? Ray Samborny? Is that it? Who's a consultant up there?
Yep, that's correct.
We're going to give his number too. You light his board up and tell him, but he should be consulting his guys to defend liberty and to defend a free and fair vote. These consultants get in there and say it's not politically correct. Ray has to have an attitude adjustment. The voters have to sit there and go, Ray, you should be telling you guys what to do. Raheem, what do you got here? This is what a judge had to tell the officials in the company not to do.
Yeah, quote from the order last night, quote, defendants are hereby enjoined and restrained from altering, destroying, or erasing or allowing the alteration, destruction, or erasure of any software or data on any Dominion voting machine in Cobb, Gwinnett, and Cherokee counties, end quote.
Okay, John, but what's going to happen down there? Tell me, are they going to recall? Are we going to recall, instead of worrying about electing Perdue and Loeffler, what about recalling Kemp? What about recalling the governor? Isn't that a higher order of priority right now?
I don't think the Republican establishment here has the inclination or the guts to do that. On a show today at the 9 o'clock hour, I'm in Dahlonega, which is North Georgia, Trump country. We had State Senator, Republican Steve Guccion, very conservative, also Representative-elect Will Wade. Neither of them really had the stomach for that. But here's the other thing. There's not going to be a special session either because Brian Kemp, the governor, will not call for one. The Speaker of the House, David Ralston, says we don't need one. His lieutenant, Speaker Pro Tem Jan Jones, all Republicans, says it's a waste of time. So they need 3/5 in the General Assembly. Not going to happen. So now the only thing they could do is the Senate Republicans can have a hearing like they did in Arizona today or Pennsylvania. They're not even going to do that. They don't even have a majority to do that. Now they're telling me, well, no need to do that because we're going to go in this session on January 10th and, we're going to change the rules
January 10th,
so this never happens again.
I don't want to hear about never happens
January
again.
10th.
It's ridiculous.
After the runoff's over.
It's obscene.
Then they're going to go in and change the rules. Like, are you kidding me? What planet do you live on?
John, we got to jump here. We're going to come back to you. I'll see you tomorrow morning. We'll get you back on the show tomorrow. John Fredericks, 10 cities, 10 days, rural Georgia, seeing MAGA voters, what they think about this fiasco. Real America's Voice got Ben Bergquam out there. I think they're going to go live back to the hearing. Rudy Giuliani's lighting them up in Arizona. He's going to show you the math, and then he's going to show you the receipts. We'll see you back here at 5 o'clock. We're going to have everything from Arizona, updates, National Pulse at 3. What do you got?
That's right. We got a new story about Smartmatic coming this afternoon.
Can't get enough of this. Okay, see you back here at 5.